No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
On the night that they celebrated the 20th anniversary of the downtown arena, the adage, they'll sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge of it, comes to mind as the Winnipeg Jets defeat the Florida Panthers by a 6-3 margin in what was certainly one of the most entertaining games anywhere thus far in the NHL season. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. And for all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now. With Dave Manouk, with Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss what was certainly an entertaining contest, culminating with the Jets doubling up the Florida Panthers by a 6-3 margin, a score that probably is not reflective of how close this game certainly was. But wow, oh wow, was this an entertaining contest, gentlemen.
Oh, absolutely. And, Nemesnikov takes that penalty with just over 2 minutes left, and you're thinking the Panthers might tie this game up, but who comes up big? Mr. Pool champion Morgan Barron with his first 2 goals of the year. I thought he might actually get a natural hat trick into the empty net, and I put it out on social media like, would that be the first time that's ever happened? So you got to
short-handed, as he.
Yeah, short-handed a short-handed natural hat trick into the empty net 3 times.
And you have to just love guys like Nemesnikov sitting there in the penalty box, which we all know, like when you're in the penalty box with just over 2 minutes left and it's a 1-goal game, like you're just thinking, please kill this penalty off so I don't have to be the one that was in the penalty box when the other team tied it up, right? And Morgan Barron comes in, and obviously Nemesnikov had the biggest smile on his face in the penalty box. So, I mean, look, guys, what did we talk about during the pregame show this afternoon at City Place, right? We talked about that the Jets needed to get back to their speed game. They needed to have more attention to detail. Obviously, they needed to play more within their structure. But we also talked about the Scheifele line, which hadn't had any points in the previous 2 games against Tampa Bay and Florida. And what do? They come out with a 4-goal, 6-point performance. Mark Scheifele almost had a 4th goal, by the way, in the third period. That was one of the best games I've ever seen Scheifele play. I realize we've said that several times over the years, and Dave M will remind us how many career hat tricks
9
number 55 has. Exactly. So this isn't his first rodeo, but wow, what a game. What a response by the Jets. I realized there were some things that you didn't like there. And also, we should mention that the Jets, obviously, Connor Hellebuyck's best friend, Mr. Crossbar/post, Barkov and Balinskis were hitting the post. So, I mean, I agree with Drew. This was not a lopsided game by any stretch of the imagination. The Florida Panthers were pushing there for the tying goal, but the Jets hung on and obviously got the big empty net goals from Morgan Barron to seal the deal. And Hellebuyck made some big saves. Go back to that first period, that save on Matthew Tkachuk after Evan Rodriguez had that initial shot, right? So you got to just love this. This was just back and forth, just great hockey.
This was big boy hockey. That's what this was. This was 2 very good hockey teams going out there and putting on a show for you. As I tweeted or blue skied or X'd or whatever the hell you want to call it, this was the palate cleanser for the mid-season doldrums when the Jets are playing against, one of the bottom feeders, one of the dregs of the NHL in the game. It just feels like it's a slog to get through. This was big boy hockey. This was as close, Dave M., to playoff hockey that you're going to get mid-November. This was a damn entertaining game between 2 teams that have aspirations to face each other again in what would only be the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's what we talked about on the pregame show. I think this was the response you wanted to see. And again, we'll be in the media availabilities tomorrow, and we'll be talking to the players, and I guarantee they'll be like, yeah, it was nice. It was good that we got back on track. Power play, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is that they're going to be happy with this win. They're going to be happy with what did they do? Was one of the most noticeable things Scott O'Neill talked about. I brought it up because, again, I was in the Matt Frost Media Center where we'll go and hear from him afterwards. Speed. When they played fast. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I don't think the Panthers sat back. I thought the Panthers were good. There were a lot. It was interesting, right? It was a real low shot attempts. Sorry, shots on net, not shot attempts. They had a lot of shot attempts, but there weren't that many shots that were getting through. Both teams played really well. I thought it was a good hockey game, as you guys have just touched on in the first few minutes of this post-game show. So I think both teams deserve credit. Like I you're right. You don't get this kind of emotion except for the fact that they're playing this back-to-back home and home series. Because otherwise, these are two teams, even if they're two teams that are considered contenders, whatever you want to call it, there's not going to be that level of emotion. And Paul Maurice, he spoke about that in his comments that I listened to after our show, even though he did the walk by wave for us during our broadcast. And then we weren't sure if the fans were
think Pomo misses us, Dave.
He may a little bit. He did give the fans gave him a big cheer. Of course, they were up 2-0, so it's always easier to give him a cheer when you're up 2-0 than if you had been down 2-0. But to me, the Jets got back to what was, and what's interesting, Drew, and I thought it was a point I would have agreed with you, and maybe I did. They started with the Scheifele line. I didn't expect that, but you know what? Has been pointed out by numerous people. Mark Scheifele has very good games against Paul Maurice. And the Scheifele line was ready to go for puck drop. And I thought the Jets were. And look, they were out shooting them 6-1 to start that hockey game. So you knew the Jets were ready to go. And again, I think it all started with speed.
Look, and to your point there, you said something I think that was very important, is that the Florida Panthers did not play a poor game by any stretch of the imagination. I thought they played a very solid game. In fact, the Jets elevated their game tonight. And that was something we discussed this afternoon when we were live at City Place for the Illegal Curve pregame show. Would the Jets be able to elevate their game? We knew that they played poorly.
Game elevated, Drew. Game elevated.
Well, we know the Jets played poorly on Saturday night in Sunrise. Florida played well. Could the Jets find a level higher and at the same time, mitigate Florida's best game? And the Jets did that successfully. I think they proved to themselves that what happened on Saturday was an aberration much more than anything else, that Saturday was just an all systems failure, as opposed to something more deep-rooted, as opposed to something more serious. I think they proved to themselves that they can play. Now, it's only one game, so that's, of course, the asterisk attached to it. But in this one game, they can play with the Stanley Cup champions. They can play with those upper echelon teams in this league. And this was certainly them at their best. You saw the speed at which they played at. Their best players were their best players, which is what you need in a game like this against the Florida Panthers. That was not a coming out party for Mark Scheifele, of course, because that's not, he's been around this league for so long, but that was just him sort of reminding everyone.
It was an reminding response.
Yeah, reminding the brain trust for Team Canada for the Four Nations Cup that you need to keep him on this team because this is what he does. This is how he can step up in key situations, and he certainly did that for the Winnipeg Jets tonight.
I don't know how you keep him off Team Canada, boys. That's an aside. But the way he's playing right now, I just don't. I don't even think it's a question of he's obviously earned it, but I just think he has elevated his game. I think we got Scott Arniel coming up here, Drew. So I don't know if you want to take over here.
No, keep going. You can, as soon as
that was Murat.
Scott Arniel is going to join us momentarily. We're going to bring the post-game coaches audio and video, courtesy our Colby Spence, Illegal Curve photographer and videographer, live from the Matt Frost Media Center. So that's coming up here momentarily on the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play. Now here he is. Here's the Jets head coach
tonight. Obviously, you saw what happened in the third period the other night in their building. He was frustrated, as our whole group was, and came out as a leader. He led. When your best players can be your best players in games like that, it certainly helps you have success.
The first 15 minutes of that game looked like it may have been a continuation of that first game, but there were a lot of chances they had, but it always seemed like their sticks were tied up at the last second, and there weren't a lot of clean shots. Is that an example of the details you were talking about that needed to be right tonight?
Yeah, I think that they're real good at it. They're real good at being heavy on sticks. I just thought our battle level went way up tonight. Throughout. And I thought at the start of the game, the battle level was really good, and we knew it was going to have to be that way. They're a heavy team. They play hard, and they come at you, and I thought we did a fantastic job of turning turning the tide and going and playing our game and getting out and getting after them.
They really come at you on their penalty kill. And I don't know if this is something I'm reading too much into, but were you basically snapping the puck around on the perimeter, having them, because you knew they were going to chase you, and maybe it kind of tired them out and allowed for some success that you had later on in power plays after long possessions?
Yeah, we saw that pressure down in their building. They didn't have a lot, but at the end of the day, the ones they did, we knew they were going to come, and they're an aggressive group. It's just something that's their kind of how they go about their PK, and yeah, when you have, it's when more of them like we did, we got some extended time on a power play. Now you're going to get those guys stuck out there. They're going to get tired, and that's kind of what happened on kind of both goals. We will kind of wore them down. We did move it. We shot the puck, retrieved it, outnumbered them on pucks, and obviously stayed with it and scored some goals off.
Scott, sometimes empty netters can be like empty calories, depending on the situation. The score. It's safe to say Morgan's first one, the bank shot, that's as big of an empty net goal as you've probably seen in a while.
Yeah, obviously Florida, they weren't going away. It seemed like even though we got up, some other opponents might back off and call it a night. They didn't. You can tell they're champs for a reason. They kept coming, and it all those those short-handed goals to kind of end it. I don't know if he's a pool player or not, but it was a heck of a bounce, indirect off the wall. But it was nice for him too, because he obviously was first of the year, and just to get on the board, and the guys are pretty excited to see them get in.
You mentioned the resiliency of Florida. In that sense, could this be, it's always hard in the moment to maybe put it into context, but could this 2-game set with Florida be a very valuable set of lessons for your group sort of as you go forward, both, everything that happened over these 2 games, the good and the bad?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some elite teams. Obviously, these guys are elite of the elite. You know what? The best part was that we got to play them again right away. That was the biggest thing. We got to go back at them. We knew how much better we had to be. We're going out on the road for 11 days. We didn't want to go out the three-game losing streak. So there's a lot of things kind of piled into this game. But the biggest thing was just our players weren't real happy what happened coming. That was a long flight home for us from Florida. And, it started yesterday and into practice today. Into the game today. And we were determined that we wanted to make sure that the outcome was better.
The two aside, Morgan obviously was a bit snake bitten in that category, but he's been a very important player for your guys. He's one of the best when you get taking pucks. According to NHL stats are publicly available. What can you say about just how valuable he is to your team and kind of the identity that you guys preach every day? And what he fits?
He's the first guy over the boards on the penalty kill with Lau. And that's a big responsibility. You're obviously facing the number one power play on the opposition all the time, and he's taken on that role. There's tonight where there's lots of situations where I'm against a Tkachuk line, and they got the zone time. That was one line for us in that first period that we were having a little bit of trouble with. They were a handful, Bennett and Verhaeghe and Tkachuk. That was a heavy line for us, and those guys I thought in the second period had some great shifts against them. And there's those guys. They do a lot of the right things, and they're kind of, I don't want to insult them. They're the cheaper version of those line. They do a lot of that grunt work and the penalty kill and all the heavy lifting.
We talked about Mark, obviously, and your best players in those types of games, but each of those goals were timely in itself. There was a great defensive stop by Mark at that front in the first period. What have you learned about just the clutch gene factor of Mark Scheifele? This was a moment you needed him, and he delivered. What can you say about that element of Mark? Well,
that's the maturity of him, and being in this for such a long time. His maturing as for me in the last year or 2.5 years. He takes a lot of pride. Like I said, he takes a lot of pride now. That I shouldn't say now. He's probably always has, but just in the fact of being responsible without the puck, and when he makes those plays, he's seeing Barkov. He's seeing Bennett's line. He's seeing player. He knows he has to defend, and that's KC. That's Gabe. That's Vladdy's line. They all take responsibility for that. And then when your best players are doing that, your top players are doing that, it sure makes it easier to sell to everybody else.
You talk about the importance of your leaders leading, and you started them. That was first line, top pair. I don't know what all goes into those decisions, but it looks like you gave them the opportunity to lead tonight.
Yeah, we had lots of good talks yesterday and today, and nothing. Hey, it just that was they wanted the challenge, and I love the way they went out and went after it. That's just I could put them all. KC, JMO, Mel, they all wanted that challenge. That they knew that we weren't at our best in Florida, and that they wanted to turn that script around. And I thought that start those guys just be a way to get them into it right away.
Is there any detail from that type of chat? Like, that's a really fascinating inside baseball sort of moment. Who initiates it? What insight can you give us that leads to them saying, yes, we want that, or are you offering it?
Yeah, we had a video session yesterday, the whole team, and so there was lots that they got to see, and it wasn't loud and screaming. It was just obvious. It was just obvious stuff that Florida did, we did do, and everybody was involved in the video. Everybody got to be a star, and so I think that everybody wanted to make amends, and you could really feel it. This morning, I thought our meetings, getting ready, power play, on at 5 o'clock. I thought everything, you could tell guys really wanted another piece of the Florida Panthers.
Last one for me.
And I'm glad they're in the Eastern Conference.
In the offensive zone, when they protect the middle of the ice so well, did you guys maybe do a better job of switching sides or just moving that puck into softer areas tonight?
We got through there so much better. The Tampa and the Florida game, we didn't do a good job. We did a great job through there tonight, whether that was our defensemen making the quick up play, not allowing them to get into their structure, or as our forwards recognizing when it was to chip and chase or whatever. The next play was probably the most important thing when we got that possession. And I thought we played fast, way faster tonight than we did on the other two games, and especially the Florida game. And I thought that our forecheck became a big part of what we wanted to do. We played fast, got through there, and now all of a sudden we're on the hunt, and from the hunt we got zone time.
Sorry, just before we go back to Mark Scheifele, we've heard a lot about him maturing this year and that being a lot of what's happening there. Fact of the matter is a lot of really good players get to the age he is now and they're starting to wind down. They're on the other side of the mountain, heading down the other way. What's allowed him to get better from the maturity aspect of getting older but stay as sharp and good a hockey player as he is?
Yeah, he's one of our most dedicated players off the ice. When it comes to eating, when it comes to training, I mean, he's a machine. Whether it's getting ready prior to practice, or even as starter practice, in practice, him and Casey drive our practice. Our top guys drive our practice. They want it to be hard. They want to be, pushed, and they push themselves to be good in practice. He's just a true pro. He's easy to coach in the sense that that he's coming every night. It's that he wants to score 3 goals every night. He really does, and he wants to push sort of that envelope every night offensively, against the other team's best players, and then he bought into the side without the puck, and that just makes for a real good hockey player. Thanks. See you in 11 days.
There he goes, Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arniel addressing the media following tonight's Winnipeg Jets victory over the Florida Panthers 6-3, speaking to the hardworking virtues of his team, the dedication of his team, and certainly also adding a little bit of levity by mentioning the Florida Panthers, that he's glad they're in the Eastern Conference rather than in the Winnipeg Jets division, because that would certainly be an uphill climb to have to do on a regular basis in a course of an 82-game season. Yes,
Drew,
Dave,
I was going to say, I don't know what he's talking about. See you guys in 11 or 12 days. Scott, we're going to see you tomorrow. There's a practice tomorrow. And even if you cancel tomorrow, there's a practice on Thursday. So you're not getting away that easy, Mr. Scott Arniel.
I think it's a lot easier to talk to you guys after practice than it is after a loss, is what I think he's saying. As the Jets embark on what is going to be a very long road trip, a difficult road trip where they zig all the way from the eastern United States to zagging to the West Coast to zipping to the southern U.S. and all the way back to Winnipeg after it's all.
You know how much I love that alliteration with the Z's, Drew, with my name, right? So keep it going.
Thank you. I will there, double Z Ginsburg. Interesting what he said there about talking how the players really were eager to get back at the Florida Panthers. They were champing at the bit to have this opportunity to prove that they were better than what they were on Saturday. I don't think any of us are surprised that they're better than they were on Saturday, but kudos to them for taking advantage of that opportunity. It's one thing to be able to say it. It's another thing to be able to go out there and do it. And the Winnipeg Jets did so tonight in getting the 6-3 victory, in not panicking as the Florida Panthers just wouldn't go away time and time and time again, which speaks to the championship mentality of the Florida Panthers, but at the same time speaks to the championship aspirations that the Winnipeg Jets have, that even with Florida repeatedly coming back in this game, the Jets didn't sag, that they kept their heads up high, ultimately sealing it away with the 2 Morgan Barron empty net goals, Ezzy.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. Sorry, I was just laughing because have we ever talked as much about Stanley Cup aspirations and Stanley Cup pedigree 17 or 18 games into the season, like as much as we have this year? And I get it, Drew, because when you win 15 of your first 16 games and you were favored by a lot of people to beat the Avalanche in the first round last year and possibly go very deep into the playoffs, I realize why we're talking that. I'm just talking about that, but I just think it's funny because, here we are in mid to late November and we keep talking about the Stanley. We're not even halfway through the season yet, but I like it. But yeah, I mean, look,
but we're a quarter of the way through the season on come Friday. I mean, we're not halfway through the season, but it's not, 5 games, 6 games, 7 games, 8 games anymore. You're a quarter of the way through the season on Friday. Be sure, by the way, Friday, reminder, we're at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, live on location, Illegal Curve watch party, and then post-game show, 6 o'clock puck drop. The Jets and the Penguins will be there, so make sure that you're there as well. Spency's buying fish bowls for everybody, is my understanding. So thank you, Spency. Very generous of you to step up and treat everybody to some fish bowls on Friday night when we're at Boston Pizza. But you are a quarter of the way through the season. So that that's the conversation in this Jets dressing room, is that it is about, doing this come playoff time. They know it, fueled by embarrassment. That's what we've been talking about for the last 5 or so days. And tonight, guess what? What were they? They were fueled by embarrassment. I do believe that. I think you're onto something, Dave M., when you were talking about that this week with the Jets and how they responded to the performance on Saturday night with this much better, much cleaner job where they look like the Winnipeg Jets are expected to look so far this season.
Well, the only thing I would add is I thought it was interesting that what Scott O'Neill said about how they all watched the video, because sometimes video sessions aren't necessarily involving the entire team, right? They could break it down, whatever, but he had them all together, all watching, because every single guy had a mistake that contributed to the loss that they suffered to those Florida Panthers on Saturday. And we've talked about this before. It's so much better for a team when you have a collective responsibility to a loss like that. So it's not a bad thing where you can say, oh, Connor Hellebuck stink, or the first line was terrible, and that's the reason why we lost. Instead, it's we didn't play well as a team. Here's why we didn't play well as a team. These are the things we got away from. And again, like I said to you guys this morning, Scott O'Neill was pretty explicit in terms of what he wanted to see from his team to know that they were going to respond appropriately, and he did. And again, Florida's too good a hockey team to they're not going to just take it. You knew that they were going to push back throughout this game. And, there were some marginal calls against both teams, I would say, but ultimately you have to like I said, this is about process. It's not about result. And the process was right for the Winnipeg Jets in this hockey game.
The process was very right for the Winnipeg Jets. It looked like they want to look. Why don't we get into it? There's a lot of goals to discuss in tonight's game. 9 to be exact. It certainly was an entertaining contest. We'll get into it. It's the Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Play Now, title sponsor of the Illegal Curve post-game show and the Illegal Curve hockey show. Learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. I would remind everybody that you should be following Illegal Curve on all of the social media channels. You should also be following Play Now on all of the social media channels, because a little birdie has told me that we're going to have some Jets tickets to give away, courtesy of our friends at Play Now. That's coming up in the next number of weeks, so get a head start on that by being sure that you're following Illegal Curve on Instagram, on Facebook, on X, on Blue Sky, and of course the same with our friends at Play Now. Be sure you're following them so you can get that opportunity, get in for that opportunity to win tickets to see the Winnipeg Jets from some primo seats that I know that we're going to give away in the next few weeks. So be sure to stay tuned for that piece of information to come. Winnipeg Jets opened the scoring at the 14-13 mark of the first period. It was an entertaining first period up to this point. Connor Hellbuck made a very nice save on Matthew Tkachuk. Gabe Vilardi had a very nice steal, leading to a Neil Pionk chance that a lot of people thought went in, but it just bulged to the side of the net. But the Jets do open the scoring at 14-13 with just over, just under 6 minutes to go in the first period. Kyle Connor, it's unassisted.
Yeah, I don't know how it was unassisted. I thought Scheifele got a piece of it.
I thought Scheifele got a piece of it as well, but what they ruled, I guess, or what they're saying on this one is that it was Gustav Forsling who more or less knocked the puck off of Scheifele's stick onto Connor's stick, and Connor comes in and he steps around, he gets in front of Jesper Boquist, so he's got to step on him, and then you see that Kyle Connor stick handle in a phone booth style of skill, and he goes backhand top shelf to beat Sergei Bobrovsky to give the Winnipeg Jets the all-important 1-0 lead. Late in that first period, Ezzy.
Yeah, and I think, guys, if you want to back it up a little bit to the Dylan Sandberg stretch pass, back the truck up here, and I agree with Dave. I think Scheifele deserved an assist on this one, even if just for the pressure on Gustav Forsling, right? But I think that's one way. Like, it seems like, again, we've had more conversations about the neutral zone and what's happening, but the reason why, not to get too hockey technical here or too nerdy, but that's one of the ways that you can stretch the Panthers out and give yourself a little bit of a way to generate speed, right? By kind of trying that stretch pass. And you saw Josh Morrissey fly the zone. So what happens is Gabe Vilardi just pokes the puck in right at center, right? And then it kind of hops over both Scheifele and Forsling's stick. And then Jesper Boquist is there, and it's just bouncing. But then Mr. Rocket Skates himself, Kyle Connor, comes in, and then he just takes over, right? And he obviously dekes out Sergei Bobrovsky. But I just wanted to get that in there before that. That stretch pass, we always talk about, generating speed and the Jets looking fast or not looking fast. I just thought that was interesting on that play, that you saw the Jets do that a few other times throughout the game. But, yeah, this goal, Dave, is just Kyle Connor just getting those rocket skates on and pouncing on a loose puck and making no mistake about it.
Yeah, it was, I mean, there's not much more for me to add other than it was just a filthy goal by Kyle Connor. I mean, he's got, I think that was his 12th goal of the year, right, Drew? And so he just continues. I mean, these guys have been a little quiet, right? We've talked about it. They were a little quiet the last few games, and you wanted to see what kind of response you were going to get from them. And sure enough, Kyle Connor gets that goal, and he just reminds everybody this kid can still score goals in the NHL very nicely. So that was a nice one. And it energized the building. It was a third sellout of the season, which they announced, I think, in the second period. But it was a good crowd, and you knew it was going to be a good crowd. Chants were a little bit and you knew
you're not going to get big chance until the game's well at hand.
No, for sure, which is what Josh Morrissey said.
Also, I'm going to throw something in there, Dave. You can't force a chant.
Agreed.
Like, you know what I mean? All this talk about
happen naturally.
All this talk about, will the Jets? Remember, we were talking about it on the pregame show, Dave.
Yeah, for sure.
What would Jets fans come up with? Just let it happen. If there's a good chance.
If I recall correctly, you submitted one, didn't you?
No, I just said maybe the Jets will throw the overrated back at the Panthers, right? But I just thought like TSN was talking about it, like how will Jets fans get creative with their chants? Jets fans are already the most creative fans out there. Like I just thought it was. I'm with Drew, and all I wanted to say, Dave, is just I think like if there's a chant, just let it happen. Don't try to predict a chant. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough.
Score had been 6-3 with a minute to go, regardless of without the empty net goals, then you would have heard a chant. You know,
Right.
this was a tight checking hockey game. The Jets fans got their revenge on the Panthers fans when they got to stand up with 30 seconds to go and cheer their team home to victory for a hard fought 6-3 win. There's no bonus points for having creative chants. It's nice when it happens organically. I agree with you there, Mr. Ginsburg.
Yeah, no. I was just gonna say, but while we were in the building listening to the chants, they tried a couple. They tried Brady's better, but I'm like, oh, that's a recycled one, so that doesn't really, that's not a great one. And then what was the other one they did?
Well, I think what they should have chanted is underrated, as in the Jets are underrated. You know, if Florida's chanting overrated, you come back with underrated. Look what we just did. We defeated your team 6-3. You can't chant overrated at the defending Stanley Cup champions.
No, that's
they
for
won
sure.
the damn cup, for God's sakes. Come on, people. Do we need to have practice about our chants? Do we need to have a pregame meeting about the chants for the fans? I hope not, because I don't have
starting in January. Drew's going to be giving like a creative chants course at the University of Manitoba.
I'll have to bring my stab-proof vest if that's going to happen, or is that still too soon?
I think it was a bit soon. It's a bit soon.
Okay. Well, apparently it didn't happen. Who knows what the hell happened at the U of M today? It was chaos.
That wasn't too soon. That was way too soon, Drew. Didn't that happen like 2 days ago?
No,
it happened
this
today
morning, and nobody's quite sure what happened. Is the thing. That's the part. They shut it down, but nobody's quite sure there was anything that actually occurred. I digress. We don't need to go into that. We'll stick to the hockey.
I'll text Scotty Billick. I think he was covering it for the.
He was covering it for straight.
That's why I said that.
Yeah, straight from the frying pan of the sports world to the fire of the news world with our good friend Scotty Billick. Of course, we extend our congratulations to him on his new gig as a news reporter for the Winnipeg Free Press.
His last by the way, his last sports appearance though will be on the Illegal Curve hockey show, which we did on with him on Saturday.
Yes, and I promise not to sing again, so everybody's going to win at that point in time.
I kind of enjoyed it.
2-0 for the Winnipeg Jets a couple minutes later. What you love after they get the opening goal is they continue to come downhill on the Florida Panthers. They follow up the goal with another couple of good quality shifts where all the Panthers can do is desperately flip the puck out, and the Jets quickly turn it back up the ice. Morrissey, Velarde gains the zone. He drops it to Mark Scheifele. I think Bobrovsky probably wants this one back. It's not the greatest shot. It's not the greatest goal that's ever been scored by Mark Scheifele, but it goes to the Winnipeg Jets coming at the Panthers in waves, and as a result, they do get rewarded for that to make it 2-0 on this goal there, Dave.
Yeah, it actually felt very reminiscent of when Mark Scheifele scored against the Anaheim Ducks in 2015. I don't know if you remember that one. That I think they were the Duck. The only reason why I thought it was memorable is because, well, Mark Scheifele took our image, Colby Spence image, if I recall correctly, for his Instagram. That was back in the day as when the Ducks were wearing their orange jerseys, and I think actually, if I recall correctly, that might have been the first time the Jets wore white at home. For a random memory, if you want to go for some potpourri there, boys.
Dave,
but,
what are you talking about? Ezzy, can you explain to me what the hell Dave just said? Because I'm not entirely
I just said it was very reminiscent of a goal that Scheifele scored against the Ducks in 2015. God, Drew, it's not my fault. Your memory is terrible and you can't remember it.
Well, and also the Jets wearing white. I think Dave is right about that. That was the first time that the Jets wore white at home.
Thank you. Bingo, bango. I'm right. Right again. Well, I guess
I like those Ducks jerseys, by the way. Those were good ones. I don't know if they wear those anymore, but
I think it's, to the point that Drew is trying to make and trying to keep us on track to talk about. I just like the fact that the Jets didn't stop pressuring. And again, it was speed and it was movement. And we saw it even when they weren't successful on their power play, because dear mama, does Florida have an aggressive PK?
Yeah.
But, even when they weren't successful, I thought the movement was good and they were quick. And here's another example of that where you're right, Drew. I mean, but it's also the resilience. It's also the determination to get that puck and not allow Florida to get a change. Like Florida is late on that change, right? The Jets sense
bad change.
It's a bad change by the Panthers, and because they don't have the puck deep in the Jets' end, and instead the Jets see an opportunity and they just keep pressuring. So you could say, sure, Bobrovsky, would like to have that one back, and he probably would. But at the same time, you got to credit the Winnipeg Jets for recognizing here's an opportunity. Let's just turn around quick. Velarde over to Scheifele. And I mean, Mark Scheifele's shot is fantastic. And we sometimes forget because he's such a good facilitator.
That's overshadowed by Kyle Connor, right?
Absolutely. But he does have a fantastic shot. So good shot by him. And then suddenly it's a 2-0 game.
Yeah, and just one thing to add, Drew, before we get into the 3-0 goal here.
Yeah.
Like Dave's absolutely right. Like the Panthers were absolutely gassed in that on that sequence. And you remember Gabe Vilardi had a decent scoring chance like 20 seconds before that happened. And you can see like with the kind of the neutral zone back pressure, if you want to call it that, it just goes right to Morrissey in the neutral zone. He brings it right in, and Vilardi makes the nice little pass to Scheifele. And Scheifele, to me, almost it seemed like he knew that Bobrovsky wasn't really set and ready for that. I agree, though. Like a goalie should stop a puck that's from that far out. Scheifele has a great shot, but it wasn't I think like there was purpose with that, is what I'm saying, Dave. Right on that Scheifele shot, like he could see that Bobrovsky was a little bit down and kind of not ready or not expecting the shot. I just thought it was a very smart decision to shoot that puck there. And yeah, that's what we have become used to seeing from that line, right? And that's what we didn't see in the game against the Lightning or against the game in the game against the Panthers enough of, right? That line going out there, having a good shift, coming back out there with another good shift, and really hemming the other team in their zone, right? That's the Scheifele, Vilardi, Connor that the Jets need if they're going to, continue these kind of 6 or 7 game winning streaks, right? But just on the first 2 goals, this is just vintage Connor and Scheifele.
Yeah, 2-0 for the Jets at this point. The first period does end 2-0, despite that terrible Nikolai Ehlers giveaway late in the first period, where he just got a little bit too fancy, a little bit too, a little bit too much of bad Nikolai rather than good Nikolai on that instance. The Jets do escape it, though, but it definitely made a few people gulp as the period was winding down there. Second period.
Drew, I just don't forget the pretty nice not standing but a nice welcome home for Nate Schmidt, I thought, from the crowd. No surprise. They love to see one of the most, happy-go-lucky guys in any NHL room. And so he got a nice round of applause. Again, I only share this because I don't know sometimes what they show during the commercial break if they come back. Obviously, I'm in the building, so I don't know if they showed it. So if they didn't, I'm just letting folks know.
I don't think they did, Dave, but I know that you posted it on our social media accounts.
Yeah, they showed the tail end of it, sort of just after it already happened. But yes, that was, of course, good mention that the Jets, of course, did acknowledge, as you would expect, the Nate Schmidt coming back to Winnipeg. 2-0 for the Jets. They make it 3-0 at the 15:41 mark of the second period. After the Jets had that full 2-man advantage for a full 2 minutes early in the second period, where they weren't able to capitalize on it. As Rodriguez and Balinskis are both in the box simultaneously. They take simultaneous penalties, and the Jets have a golden opportunity to really put the game, not necessarily away, but to take a real stranglehold on it early in that second period. They aren't able to do it. I thought they were probably a little bit too cute, maybe, on this power play. You got 5-on-3. You're going to have numbers. Get a shot through onto Bobrovsky and then see about a rebound. I think they were looking for the perfect play. They had some opportunities. They had some good zone time, but they weren't able to get to capitalize on it. And then, Niederreiter takes a penalty. The Panthers aren't able to capitalize on that one. But with Dmitry Kulikov in the box, the Jets make it 3-0. Scheifele, a beautiful pass from Nikolai Ehlers. Just a gorgeous seam pass after you can see the Panthers. We know how aggressive they were on the PK. And what can kill an aggressive PK is that eventually, if you break it down, there's going to be seams to hit. Ehlers hits this seam, one-timer onto Scheifele's stick in the proverbial spot known as the Ovechkin spot. And this qualifies as the
Seager shot of the game.
Just a beautiful setup and a beautiful one-timer by Mark Scheifele to give the Jets the 3-0 lead, Ezzy.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of summed it up, Drew, just by beautiful cross-seam pass to Scheifele in the Ovechkin spot or the Stamkos spot, whatever you want to say.
I think it's more the Ovechkin spot than the Stamkos spot, given the start to the year at least.
Yeah, no. You're right. It's more the Ovechkin spot. I also think of Stamkos when you're talking about ripping shots from there, right? Stamkos isn't doing a lot of that this year with the Nashville Predators. Have to get that dig in there for Predators fans, but this is an example of, again, And I feel like, when we had Coach John Goyens on, if you didn't listen to that, it was about 3 weeks ago, I think, or 4 weeks ago, we had him on. And this is what he was talking about when we asked him about Ehlers being in the bumper spot, Velarde being net front, and why, breaking it down technically, why the Jets power play is doing so well. Also, shout out to Liz and Connor, who did a great job on the Winnipeg Sports Talk Deep Dive, breaking down the Jets power play. If you haven't checked that out, go to their YouTube channel. But this is when they're at their best. The Jets are, that is, when there's players moving around and they're causing confusion for the other team because they basically don't know who's going to shoot the puck, right? Like Ehlers could have gone to Kyle Connor here, Dave, but what he does, or back to Kyle Connor, what he does here is, though, he sees that Scheifele is wide open because what's happening in front of the net, Aaron Ekblad is in front, and he's concerned about what Gabe Velarde is going to do, right? And that opens up Scheifele. So beautiful pass by Ehlers. And obviously, this was insurance because we know what happened later on in the second period. And, it was a 2-goal game at that point. But, this was a huge goal for the Jets at the time because, as Drew mentioned, they weren't able to capitalize on that 5-on-3, Dave.
Yeah. And like I said, like you said, Ezzy, sorry, this is just another example of persistence and the team not really giving up. And I just liked the way that, Ehlers' passing is pretty good. We tend to focus on a lot of the other guys, but he can whip that puck pretty quick. And these guys, like I said, the power play had been stymied the last couple of games, and suddenly now you're back on track. And, one of the other things we should probably mention is PP1 took the lion's share of almost all the power play. And Drew, I don't know how it breaks down exactly.
No, they were out there for the whole power play.
Well, they were out for the 5-on-3. They took 1:32 of the 5-on-3. The other
4 minutes and 43 seconds of power play time
versus
for Velarde.
PB2.
No, not versus, but like 4:43 of power play time in the game for really the guys who are on the first power play unit, and then for the guys who are on the second power play unit, like a guy like Cole Perfetti, 28 seconds. So very much one-sided for the.
No,
first
but that's what I'm saying. So they literally took a 1:32 of the 5-on-3. They took the full 2 minutes of the second power play, and then they scored, I think, 1:10 into this one or something along those lines. So they really did, use up, and there were a lot of good looks. But yeah, this is just another example of, and like I said, you want to credit the Panthers because I thought the Panthers penalty kill really kind of didn't allow the Jets to get set up, and they really tried. Like they created a lot of chaos for, Kyle Connor, Kyle Connor is used to creating time and space or I should say having time and space. He didn't have it. And again, just a beautiful pass by Nikolai Ehlers to get himself open. And then with everybody watching Ehlers, well, what does that create for Mark Scheifele? An opportunity to one-time the puck. He makes no mistake. And now it's a 3-0 game.
Yeah, 3-0 for the Winnipeg Jets at this point. But then the Florida Panthers, as you would expect from a team that's the defending Stanley Cup champion, start to show that heart of a champion. They get lucky. So let's not sugarcoat it. It's a fluky goal that gets them back within to that 3-1 margin. It's AJ Greer, his second of the season. Really, it's a bank shot that double banks and then is going wide and happens to deflect in off of Adam Lowry.
Who, by the way, just moments earlier missed an easy tap in to make it 4-0.
That's exactly it. It's a great pass from Mason Appleton to Lowry, and he just redirects it just wide of Bobrovsky. The Panthers transition it up the ice. The Jets are in, generally speaking, good position. Lowry, it's just a fluke. It bounces. It's a shot from the point by our old friend Nate Schmidt. You mentioned him earlier, and it deflects.
He's having a nice little season, boys.
Yeah, he's up to
3 goals,
4 assists now, 7 points for Nate Schmidt, playing a bottom pairing role there for the Panthers, but fitting in nicely there. This one deflects in off of Adam. It goes off of AJ Greer and then off of Adam Lowry behind Connor Hellebuck. No chance for the Jets goalie. A fluke, but you got to be good to be lucky, as the old adage goes, and the Florida Panthers get lucky on this one, and it's 3-1 for the Winnipeg Jets after 40 minutes, each team scoring once in that middle frame, Ezzy.
Yeah, and you mentioned it goes off of Lowry's skate, but I mean, credit to the fourth line. They were out there against the third line. Colin Miller threw a big hit. I think it was Gadjevich. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Mackie Samoskevich wasn't in the lineup tonight for the Florida Panthers. He scored last game on Saturday. Just pointing that out there. So obviously the Florida Panthers are a good enough team that they can bench a guy who scores in the previous game. But yeah, it was just a hardworking goal by the fourth line. And yeah, it goes off of AJ Greer and then Lowry skate. So there's not much you can break down there, boys. It was just the result of hard work and going to the net, right?
Yeah, 3-1 for the Jets after 40 minutes. You knew you were in store for was going to be an entertaining third period. It certainly was that and more. The Panthers get to within 1 goal, as close as they would get in this game, of course, but they get to within that 1 goal at the 7:10 mark of the third period. Sam Reinhart, his 14th of the year, assist to Matthew Tkachuk and Sasha Barkov, Alex Barkov. Cole Perfetti is in the box. He takes an offensive zone penalty. There were 3 offensive zone penalties in this game. Perfetti took one here. I guess 4, technically. Nemesnikov's late in the game was also an offensive
That was
zone
offensive
penalty.
zone. Yep.
And Kulikov's penalty was offensive zone for the Panthers. And they took another one. Was it Luosterainen? I think also his was offensive zone, if I'm not mistaken. So there were a number of offensive zone penalties in the course of today's game. But the Panthers capitalized on this one to make it 3-2. Beautiful passing play. They have control of the puck. The Jets are, a little bit running around. The Panthers break them down. They go high to low to back up the sort of how we saw the Jets do it with Sean Monahan a whole bunch of times last year in the slot. Tkachuk.
Triangulation, Drew. I always talk about it's that triangulation,
exactly.
And yeah, it's just tic-tac-toe. Barkov to Tkachuk to Reinhart, and we talked about it earlier, right? I think it was on that power play, if I'm not mistaken. Barkov hit the crossbar. And it wasn't even that hard of a shot, right? That's what I remember thinking. Like, it was kind of like I don't know, he put like half of it or 3/4 on that wrist shot. But yeah, I mean,
it was just before they scored that he hits the post. You're absolutely right.
Right. Sorry, I wasn't sure if it was post or crossbar, but you're right. And I mean, look, that's a bad penalty to take at that point in the game. And we're not going to pick on Cole Perfetti here because I actually thought he had a good game. But you don't like the fact that you took 3 penalties in the third period. What did we say? 2 of which, at least 2 of those were offensive zone. Nemesnikov's clearly with 3 minutes left in the game, the trip on Balinskis, that was offensive zone.
Yeah,
and I'm forgetting the other one. Was that Morrissey tripping against Mikkola?
Morrissey's tripping penalty against what's his name? Mikkola. Yeah, in the third. That was also that. The Jets certainly played with a little bit of fire to let the Panthers back into this game.
But at the end of the day, like we're getting ahead of ourselves here, and I don't know how much we're going to break down. Obviously we're going to break down the Scheifele hat trick goal, but. They were able to survive it. And now we know that Morgan Barron is not only a great hockey player, but he's an excellent snooker player.
He actually says he's a terrible pool player. He mentioned that in the post-game comments after everyone asked him about his pool playing skills.
Are you an 8-ball guy or a 9-ball guy, Drew, or do you like snooker better?
Drew is an 8-baller.
I really don't. I'm not much of a pool player at the best of times. I mean,
shout out to my buddy Eric Horlifson, national 9-ball champion.
Well, congratulations to Eric for that, for being a national 9-ball champion. I'm not sure what that means, but anything you're a national champion of, I'm going to give you credit for that. I'm going to give you a shout out there. So
I'm a national hoagie eater competition winner.
I believe that, though. I don't doubt that for a second. 3-2 at this point in time for the Winnipeg Jets. Pardon me. The Jets regain the 2-goal lead. It's 2 minutes and 36 seconds later. It's just after the power play expires. So this is the one where Luosterainen is in the box for that offensive zone penalty. The Jets' number 1 power play unit is on the ice for the entire 2 minutes plus 6 seconds. In this case, they have complete control. They're working it around a number of great puck retrievals. And finally, Kyle Connor finds Mark Scheifele. It's the hat trick goal, Dave. Aaron Ekblad is sort of he's gassed. You don't know. He knows, you watch the replay. He doesn't know if he's punched or bored. He doesn't know to take Connor or to take Scheifele. Well, he takes really neither of them. And it's an easy pass from Connor to Scheifele, who makes no mistake. And you saw the look of success on Scheifele's face to give the Jets the 4-2 lead in what ultimately turns out to be the game-winning goal in tonight's contest.
There were like 10 different things on this goal that you could laud the Jets for doing. Puck retrievals. Deception. It really is amazing.
Zone entry. Think about the zone entry. It was a beautiful zone entry on this one where, the Jets walk in, they gain the zone, and then they didn't give up the zone for that entire 2 minutes, basically.
I have a question. Didn't he ask me to break down the goal? Why is he not breaking down the goal?
Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm kidding. But anyways, the point is that, you just looked at all the, like Kyle Connor keeping in at the blue line. There were so many different and then again, movement. Jets are not stationary. They're all over the place and they're creating chaos. And again, like I said, I like Florida's PK because it was aggressive and it didn't want to give the Jets any time and space. But I loved, it just goes to show you the intelligence of Mark Scheifele. He sees that Ekblad is overcommitted to that side and he just moves back, what is it? Two glides just 2 feet away to give himself that space. And then a beautiful pass over and it's in the back of the net. And the Jets have that 2-goal lead. But to me, Ezzy, this is one, if Scott Arniel was showing video of the things he didn't like, he's going to be showing video of what he does like. And that to me is highlighted by that goal.
This is hockey porn for Scott Arniel and Davis Payne, as Paul Maurice used to say, right, Dave? Yeah. But you're absolutely right when you mentioned, I didn't even notice that. I was just looking at the replay when Scheifele noticed that Ekblad was cheating a little bit. Yeah. And then he just backed up a little bit, went to the side. Very, and also, I mean, the pass by Kyle Connor, because obviously Kyle Connor is a shooting threat here. But what he does is he notices that Scheifele's now gotten open, and so he decides to pass, right? Because Bobrovsky, I think, is thinking that Connor's going to stuff that, Dave. Mm-hmm. So just really smart. It's not a power play goal, but it kind of, for all intents and purposes, it was a power play goal because what was it? What did we say? Listerainen?
Yeah, Listerainen was
6 seconds.
6 seconds. He wasn't back in the.
He wasn't really part of the play, right? Yeah. So look. What comes through again, right? The power play, right? Mm-hmm. And the Florida Panthers scored a couple power play goals. They, I think, had gone like 0 for 9 in their previous 9 or something like that, right? Like, so this was a game in which I think Kevin Sawyer mentioned it. You didn't really want this game to be determined on special teams, but it was just because of how many penalties you had in the third period. But yeah, Scheifele and Connor, guys, like tonight just seemed like the puck was on a rope for those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they needed a response game. The Jets' best players had to step up, and they certainly did. The Connor, Scheifele, Velarde line, to your point there, Ezzy, if you look at the advanced numbers, a line that is often maybe doesn't win the possession game, 64%, 64.7% was their Corsi for in the course of tonight's game, an expected goals percentage of 63%. So they definitely stepped up and were very good for the Winnipeg Jets tonight. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, couldn't be the face-offs because
Barkov,
I heard Barkov was like 9-1 at one point in this hockey game on face-offs, and he was eating everybody's lunch, so
16-2.
Yeah,
is what he ended. So basically, as good as the Winnipeg Jets record is in games, that's what Barkov was.
That's 89%.
Circle 89%, yep. 16 wins and 2 losses. And keep in mind that when you're the road team, you usually don't get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the face-off. So that tells you just how good he was in the circle tonight for the Winnipeg Jets with a dominant performance. Adam Lowry, who's usually not bad in the face-off circle, he had 30% success rate.
That's because he was losing a lot of those to Barkov.
That's what I'm saying. Six wins, 6 face-off wins and 14 face-off losses, which speaks to Barkov's skill.
We talked about it on the pregame show. Like Barkov, what is he, 29 years old? Like this guy's a future Hall of Famer already. Like this guy is ridiculous. And I saw some of the comments earlier. Like that's why you got to give the Jets a ton of credit in a game. It was a 1-goal game in the third period, and the Jets found a way to push back, right? Like that's what we talked about. Drew made, referenced the Mike Tyson quote. It's not about, how many times you get punched. It's how, or whatever it is. I'm butchering it right now.
Butchering that quote.
It's how many times you punch back. And that's what the Jets did.
That's not the quote at all.
No, but the Reinhardt, it's the basic. I mean, I have concepts of a plan, Drew.
Yeah, you might have concepts of a plan. You don't have concepts of the quote, though. You butchered that damn quote, but I appreciate the effort anyways. But, we'll let you get back and read up.
It was a good bounce. What I'm trying to say, it was a good bounce back game for the Jets.
Yes. The quote, by the way, is everybody has a plan until they get punched in the nose. That's the Mike Tyson quote. But I think it's a long way from that after the debacle that the fight was this past weekend between him and whichever Paul brother that was. Jake. Okay. Florida makes it 4-3. The Panthers keep coming. This is on the power play. This is with Josh Morrissey in the box after taking that tripping penalty, which I thought was a bit of a weak call, but nonetheless, the officials made the call. Matthew Tkachuk with a seeing eye shot. Tons of traffic in front of Connor Help. Barkov, you could see that Hellebuyck did not see that puck until it was almost already past him. Barkov causing the chaos. Bennett and Carter Verhaeghe getting the assist. Matthew Tkachuk, his 5th of the season. And the Panthers are back within 1 at 4-3 with under 3.5 minutes to play, which might as well be an eternity in this game, Dave.
Well, I was just going to say, and worth mentioning, it's a 6-on-4 goal because they had pulled Bobrovsky from the net. So and that was with 4 minutes to go or something like that, or 3 minutes?
3 minutes and 22 seconds to be exact.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it was, look, Paul Maurice was aggressive and he pulled Bobrovsky and he gets rewarded with the 6-on-4 goal. But, you got to credit Barkov because he takes away Connor Hellebuck's eyes and he does a real good job in front of the net. And, Tkachuk really, I mean, it's interesting. He's got 5 goals, 3 of which are come on the power play, as I heard on the broadcast. But it wasn't a particularly deceptive shot or a dangerous shot, but it's a smart play because all he has to do.
Hellebuyck didn't see this one, Dave.
No, and my point is that he didn't have to be. It didn't have to be because it just had to be on the net with the amount of traffic there is. Right, you've got a lot of guys on the ice. They're all in that end. They're all creating chaos. So it's a nice. There's nothing really to break down other than the fact that once again the Panthers win. They have control of the puck. The Jets can't get the puck out, and they get that 6-on-4 goal to make it a 1-goal game.
And then Vlad Nemestikov takes that offensive zone penalty with 2 minutes and 15 seconds to go. And boy, oh boy, was everybody feeling a little tight around the collar, except Morgan Barron, calm, cool, and collected as he goes bank shot. I don't do this very often, but when it's his first of the season and it's this important of an empty net goal, it's
Drew.
also worthy of this.
The Seagram shot of the game.
You see, if you read the fine print, there's nothing that says we can't say the Seagram's shots of the game, as he's been known to take more than 1 shot. So we might as well have 2 shots of the game. We'll give this one to Morgan Barron. I think he'll maybe toast his first goal of the season, a shorthanded empty net goal with some Seagram's 83, Manitoba's #1 whiskey. This was just, as it's going down the ice, you're like, is it going to go in? Is it going to get there? Is it going to hit the middle of the empty net? And it absolutely did. Just an absolutely a great bank shot. Whether or not he was trying it or knew that it was going to work or he had the angle is sort of irrelevant. The point is that it worked for the Winnipeg Jets. He followed it up, of course, 21 seconds later with another empty net goal as the Jets end up with the 6-3 victory. But I love Morgan Barron's composure on this one too. When it's on his stick, he doesn't just rifle it down the ice. He doesn't go wild with anything. Go ahead, Dave. I saw you raise your hand like you want to speak. But
no. I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah, calm, cool, and collected, as I said, to bank it into the empty net to give the Jets the victory, Ezzy.
Yeah, and you guys remember in that first period, remember when Barron had that burst of speed and it kind of resulted in a partial breakaway? He didn't even get a shot on net. I don't know if you guys remember that. But, Barron is a guy who I think often gets overlooked, not just because he's on the 4th line, but just because of, the fact that, he hasn't scored a goal this year up until tonight as well. But just because of, I think, the role he plays on this team. He was excellent on the penalty kill tonight. I realized that the Panthers scored some goals, but I still thought he was really good. And it almost seemed to me, Dave, like that's a spot on the boards in Canada Life Center that like he's practiced that before. You know what I mean? Like it was
you should know the boards. If on your home ice, you should know the board.
Yeah, and so that was very smart. Like that puck it wasn't the exact middle of the net, but it was close to the middle of the net. So that was a very smart play by Barron because he saw, I forget who was out there for the Panthers, if it was Ekblad or who was playing the point at that particular time, Balinskis. By the way, the fact that Balinskis is out there for the power play, he's a third-pairing defenseman for the Panthers. Yeah. I was calling him, what was I calling him, Drew? The Latvian Niedermeyer or something? I forget. But
I thought he played well. I like his game.
He's a good player. Yeah. He's a good player. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, guys, Morgan Barron's first 2 goals of the year, you just love to see that, period.
Well, and I'm not going to add because this would be the longest we've ever spent on an empty net goal in the history of the show. But the one thing I will add to what Drew said is just that I love the composure. I love the fact that he didn't just try and turn and try and shoot it through a couple of guys. He knew there's nobody there. I'm going to get it off the wall, get it down the ice. Worst case scenario, where it doesn't go in the net. But so again, whether he thought he admitted after the game that he was not a good pool player. So I suspect he was maybe not trying to be that perfect bank shotter, but ultimately, like I said, it was the fact that he kept his head and made the smart play and got the puck out of the zone in a way that was not going to lead to a turnover. That was really smart, I thought.
Maybe we should start like an illegal curve, pool night with Morgan Barron. We can go to like maybe, I don't know, what's that place called? Classics Billiards on Portage or something. You guys in?
No.
You don't want to play pool with Morgan Barron, Drew?
I don't want to play pool with you. I mean, I'm pretty sure Morgan Barron doesn't want to play pool with you either. But, I guess
Pool's awesome. Pool's a great game.
If other people want to play pool with Ezzy, he's going to be at whatever the hell place he just mentioned on Portage
I miss
Avenue.
the Q clubs.
Is Polo Park Inn still a place where you could play pool?
I don't think.
Joking.
I don't think so either way. There was a place behind the bay downtown. I played pool at when I was. I don't know if I was in high school.
It's called Q Club.
Oh, that's the one right near Graham, like where the.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah,
I don't think I ever went there, but I remember.
There's also a place called Pockets downtown. Do you remember that place?
No.
It was near, I think, I don't know, the Exchange District. There's a place called, was it Bailey's? Anyways, there's a few places left in town where you can play pool. Flea Whiskeys, shout out.
What was the one on Main Street? Like Burton Cummings used to go to that one. That was one I should know it because that's my part of the town.
Yeah, that's your hood.
I know I can't, but I never went there. Someone definitely remember. What was the one on Main Street right near Inkster, folks? Give me a little heads up on that name. I can't remember.
Dave is speaking to only his North End people right now.
Yeah, come on, North Enders, hit me with something here.
Where's North End Rick when you need him?
In any event, the Jets win 6-3 tonight as we delve deep into the various pool places around Winnipeg, apparently, here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Partisan Paul is saying it's Sportsman's. Does that sound right,
Sportsman's,
Dave?
that's it. Yeah, Sportsman's. There we go.
Thank you, Partisan Paul. Coming through in the clutch for you.
Pub night, darts and snooker and darts.
Whatever it might be, as long as there's some beer for Eddie to drink, he's happy with that. Jets
not the Greenbrier, by the way. Someone was saying Green something, not the Greenbrier. That's a different establishment. Very close to my old house, though.
There you go. They have different kind of pool playing, I guess, over there. That's pocket pool after you go to the Greenbrier, but maybe I'm working a little too blue now. Jets win 6-3 tonight against the Florida Panthers. We'll come back. We'll wrap up tonight's post-game show. Reminder, Friday, Boston Pizza, live on location, Illegal Curve watch party, and then the post-game show, Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, 6 p.m. on Friday. We'll be there. We want to see you there as well. It's going to be fun to watch the Jets and the Penguins do battle. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back on the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now after these commercial messages.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal. Starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Shortly before 11 o'clock, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. Been a very fun day, a very busy day of Illegal Curve content. It started this afternoon at 12 noon with the Illegal Curve pregame show live from City Place. Always great to get out and at City Place. We'll next be there, of course, in December for the pregame show. It's a Tuesday game against the Bruins. So prior to that Tuesday game against the Bruins, we'll be back at City Place for another
We're going to have Jim Montgomery on with us, right?
He's got time on his hands now that he's been fired as the Bruins head coach. Joe Sacco is the interim head coach in Boston, but the Bruins are struggling so far this year, and they looked absolutely listless in a loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets last night. It cost Jim Montgomery his job. By the way, I think either his points percentage or his winning percentage was something like 700.
Oh, it's crazy.
He still got fired as the Bruins head coach. So you can tell that the standards are high in Boston, but I'm not sure that Joe Sacco is going to have much more success with a Bruins team that has certainly been struggling so far this season. The Jets and the Bruins not for another couple weeks, but first Friday, Saturday, we have back-to-back Winnipeg Jets games in Pittsburgh. Friday night, we'll be at Boston Pizza as we've been hammering. Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve hockey show. Then Saturday night, the Jets and the Nashville Predators for the first time this year, a division rival game. That's the last division rival that the Jets have played. Perfect on the season against their division rivals so far. They'll look to keep that going on Saturday night against the Nashville Predators, Dave.
True.
Thanks.
I just want to talk about the fact that your boy Bruce went to school with a Joe Sacco, obviously not the same Joe Sacco. That's pretty crazy.
I also like this point by your boy Bruce. Just saying. People are asking.
Well, then do it.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Manouk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
For the record, I didn't do it.
I know. Do it quickly at the very least, then.
Well, there's not really a ton of new Moose news. I wasn't, of course, at the Hockey for All Center. I will be there tomorrow. I'm doing double duty for all of you people. I will be at Hockey for All Center to cover Moose practice, and then I'm jetting over to the Canada Life to cover the Jets as well. So I'm going to have both pro teams covered tomorrow, provided the Jets don't cancel. Maybe that's what Scott O'Neill was alluding to.
They tweeted already, or that the practice is still scheduled for 12 noon.
There
they
we
might
go.
cancel it tomorrow morning. Probably as you're driving there, they're just waiting to toy with you a little bit.
That's okay.
They're going to mainly practice not taking penalties in the third period.
All right, excellent. Well, I will try and for folks who are asking, I don't have any news on any of the guys who are injured. Chaz Lucius day to day, and of course missed the last 7 games. And Danny Zhilkin dealing with a knee injury. I don't have updates on them. The only news really that was made today was that Dom DiVincentis, sorry, someone put a logo up on.
Yeah, as he stopped putting the logo up, it's not doing
throwing anything. It's throwing me off. But anyways,
this is why you weren't given any authority or any control for the longest time.
I got excited. I was trying to do something else.
That dog has a puffy tail, and Ginsburg loses his mind.
Yeah, like honestly, I'm like looking at him, like, am I imagining something, or is there like a giant icy logo above my head right now? Anyways. So Dom DiVincentis is going to be heading to Norfolk to get the lion's share. This is what we were expecting at the beginning of the season before Kaapo Kähkönen got claimed. And, of course, the Jets have now reclaimed him and assigned him to the Moose. He played his first game for Manitoba, a win over the Chicago Wolves. Chicago Wolves, who they're going to be playing on Thursday morning. We're going to have tickets if you want to go to that game. I've actually got some tickets in the Illegal Curve Zone. So send me – no, not you, especially with that stupid logo there, but Not that the IC logo is stupid, but the way you've got it there is not so good.
Yeah.
But the fact is,
the person putting the
yes,
logo on the screen is stupid.
Dave at illegalcurve.com if you want to go to the Moose game on Thursday morning. Now, I will warn you, there's going to be a lot of screaming children. It's the school day game, but we do have tickets for that one. So if you want to go, hit me up. Someone hit me up today live at the City Place, and we gave them 2 tickets. So Dom DiVincentis, he is over in the ECHL. He's heading to Norfolk. And of course, Ville Heinola, we know, for those who didn't join us this afternoon, he is only going to be with the Manitoba Moose on a conditioning assignment for 2 games, the Thursday game and the Saturday game. Then on Sunday, he'll be recalled. He'll join the team in Minnesota. I would actually expect him to play, maybe not necessarily that game against the Wild, but I would imagine at least the next game. I think that's against LA. So, but probably as soon as LA against Minnesota potentially. But ultimately, we're going to have Ville Heinola playing in the Moose lineup, so he'll be there, as well as maybe Fabian Wagner, the Jets draft pick, who had his contract terminated at his request with his Swedish hockey team, Ezzy, and he, of course, has been assigned back to the Moose.
Well, we'll let Ezzy go research up on Fabian Wagner, as he's a new Winnipeg Jets prospect who's going to be playing for the Manitoba Moose moving forward. Final word tonight goes to Morgan Barron. Quote, "It just kind of opened up and I didn't have a lane at it. So my thought was to just kind of get it down to the other end of the ice. I figured if I'm going to shoot it down anyways, I figured I might as well put it in a place that has a chance. I think the puck actually went on its edge, so I thought it was going to roll wide, but it didn't. And the Winnipeg Jets and their fans are happy it didn't, as it was the 5-3 goal to give the Jets ultimately the 6-3 victory over the Florida Panthers. An entertaining day, an entertaining night. We'll see everybody Friday night at Boston Pizza. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, smash the like button, tell your friends, tell your family the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. And again, on Saturday mornings is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Plenty more post-game coverage to come on illegalcurve.com. But for now, for Dave Manouk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Until Friday night at 6 p.m., we wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.